Hi again. I'm living life dangerously, recording 2 videos at a time. It's rainy out there and kind of windy, so. Okay, this is the second one of the day on 5/15, the Mayan day, 6th Serpent. And it has an additional link in it. I'm going to put some links in the last one as well. So remember, click over to the transcript, friends. You'll find some extra support there. Okay, here we go. Feeling strange again. Oh well, what's new, right? Guess I'm glad for the peace and quiet of this environment that supports my being able to attune to such things. I know how, in the hustle-bustle of both everyday life and of mind, gee, are they different? It's not so easily noticed. Still, anything is possible. So, don't accept any limits at all. As Source, we can do anything. Now, I give it quotes as it's generally the province of mind, any doing. Source, I find most often unconcerned with circumstances, uncaring, unattached. How about you? I find that when we notice the self-grasping and the hanging on tight to whatever or whomever it is, that it's mind at work there. Have you noticed? Heart doesn't grasp. So, what does it mean to say that as Source we can do anything? Good question. Let's see if the words will come to clothe this idea. We are unbounded completely. Be in heart to listen. Settle down in. This isn't from or to anyone's mind. That part of us appearing here in time and space isn't appearing. Who or what we are isn't visible in general to 3D. Now sure, the body can be seen, but come on, you know you're not that, so don't identify with it. Break the habit. It seems that with every journal I start of late, they all require the landing in true identity first, before the rest can be launched. It wouldn't be reasonable to just take off into things without first seeing to that. Why not? Well, because mind, arrogant dear thing that it is, would get right into it, would follow along, and would think it understood. No such thing. Not even possible. So settle down in. Why not is also because people are so deeply programmed to believe themselves limited to 3D. We're kismet, honey. It's thunder, okay? We're totally used to seeing everything from eye level, as if we lived in the head, which most of us do. To take the perspective of viewing from the lower level of heart is quite shocking, even dizzyfying at first. That's how tightly locked into a certain limited perspective we've become. When we look out at the world like that, without first centering down into something far more real, everything we perceive is custom tailored by mind. Well, thanks but no thanks. I've ridden that one right into the ground. Think I'll let it quit. It's a deeper journey I'm after. How about you? We all have this fancy biological equipment, and we don't know what we have. We have no idea what it can accomplish since we know precious little about what it is. We're running around in Ferraris, treating them like Volkswagen Beetles or motorcycles. Seriously, we don't know our equipment. What they know and what they've shared with us about what they know about DNA is strictly superficial. In Russia, they're going much deeper with that kind of work. How can we, when we're always focused out there on the external world? While it's true that you don't need to know the internal workings of the engine to turn the key and drive the car, this goes way deeper than that. It's time we wised up, and maybe it will help us quit chasing our tails so darn much. Even the mind we have is a true wonder that's hardly even been explored. Come on. We know just enough to calculate that we use about 5% of the whole in our conscious mind. But just imagine, what are the implications of that? Do you get a sense of it? Freud, Carl Jung, and even Robert Monroe and any number of others have explored beyond conscious mind. Yet, we are that and so very much more. Even the conscious mind, its abilities, its drawbacks, hasn't been anything like fully explored. Yet, we're forever outward focused. What's with that? What could we discover if we just turn our attention within? We are divine beings, my dear friends, nothing less. Now, if that doesn't get your imagination hopping, well, you're either dead, asleep, or hypnotized. Yet, to do this exploration requires something besides what's in the head. You don't use a microscope to investigate itself. A knife can't cut itself. A tooth can't bite itself. Using mind to explore mind, well, it makes about as much sense as in none. So, before we go on, everyone drop down into your chest. Breathe into that big open space in there. And now, just veg. From heart, we can have a look at anything we like. We can trust. We have a disinterested or objective view from here. Heart isn't attached either to things or to people or even ideas or beliefs. Heart just is. It makes a great base of exploration, and it doesn't take much practice to get good at hanging out here. Just set your intent, and be earnest, of course. So, let's look at mind from here. What shall we find? First, we will find something that feels limiting and constricting from the open freedom we feel here in heart. Mind creates and maintains structures. We notice that right off. It's what mind loves to do. Mind is also innocent, rather like a small child. It has a native beauty we may have never previously seen. And that makes sense since it's not viewable from within mind. Again and again, we'll find aspects and angles of being never noticed before. It takes getting out of mind to be able to get much of a clear view of it. Reminds me of what Professor Einstein said about needing to view a problem from another angle to be able to resolve it. Things are not very good at examining themselves. How are you doing at sensing things from this new angle, this new spot? If it doesn't seem different to you, then you're not here yet. It's okay to stop reading or just push pause and take a moment to just settle down in. And I promise, if you will do this just once, even if it takes a few minutes of pause, you'll be able to see, to begin to sense the new depth that's available to you here. You're deeper than you yet know. You are more, far and away more than mind is able to sense or come to know. By limiting the self to mind, and only the left brain side at that, we hobble and hamstring our experience of life. Now, we don't know that, of course. We're innocently being the best we know how to be, just as we've been taught and trained and schooled. Some will say that our problem, the reason for this plight, is that we believed what we were told and taught. Yes and no. It is clear that had we known not to trust those in charge of things and what they said, we would likely have had a much fuller experience of life. So, that is yes. But on the other hand, my friends, be honest. What else could we do? In truth, there was no better option available to us. So, is crying over that not like crying over spilled milk? What point is in it? What will it help in any way? I don't see that it's useful. So, that's a no. So, the fact is that at this point, the huge bulk of us haven't a clue about our own magnificence. Open up to that. Just set your intent to be open to it, to the possibility. Okay, that's where we stand. We're more than equal to that since we are source. I know that's just too big a step to take all at once. Too far from here to there, so we'll take it by steps. For now, just accept that your nature is divine. It's enough. Beyond your nature being divine, so is your equipment there. That body-mind thing, yeah, it's pretty darn awesome in its own right. So, we'll be learning about that. Do keep an open mind from heart. Things you thought you knew, best set them aside. You can pick them up later if you like, which I suspect for many you won't. In other words, keep an open mind. Be the empty cup, my friends. When you bring emptiness to this, you've all the room in the world, in the universe, to take in what's available. When you bring all the things you think you already know, well, they cramp your style. This is a very, very different sort of place. Trust me, you know almost nothing of what is available here to find, nor do I. Does that make you a wee bit angry? Really? Be honest and open with the self now. No sense hiding the truth from you. Be real. Look at your body. Is it at all tense? And if it makes you at all irritated or angry, then let me introduce you to mind. Are you open to that? It's a choice, always. Free will choice. Always up to you. No forcing goes on here. Now these journals may be a bit shorter than the previous ones. That's what I've noticed so far. They have the power, the potential though, to take you deep. You're the one who must take advantage of that. You must bring all of yourself to the viewing, the listening. Don't come here to be entertained. That too would be mind. That's what the construction of the matrix is, you know. It's made of mind stuff. Like a web, it's designed to keep us ever functioning solely within mind. We've been practically drugged into it. If not literally, then by the whole structure of society and the mindset of those all around us. It all tends to keep us locked in the head. We've been lulled into a sort of soul sleep, from which so many are now waking up. That would be you. Give yourselves a hand. Hey, you may even be light years ahead of the rest in shaking it all off. I don't know. I just know that it takes sticking to heart to retain the divine humility required to navigate your way out. It's a little bit like the old movie Tron, where the guy got stuck in the game. Something like that. Now, that guy didn't know he was divine. And you do. You've already got your head above water here, attending to this crazy vlog. And that's evidence. Mind doesn't like a lot of what I say here. So certain people, those still trusting mind, drop out. And that's fine. Not complaining. Just commenting on you sticking around. What's been put to sleep to a large extent is our divine will, our divine intent. What we've been left with, what we've been moved over into, is the will and intent of the mind. They're functioning just fine. We just didn't notice when the swap was made, heart for head, that got us into that state. That's also why it seems hard at times to wake up, to sustain the will to do that, to stay in those higher levels of consciousness. We've got to marshal our divine nature, setting aside the mental one in the process. So, we're first making this internal shift, and then we'll see to the world and such stuff. No use going after that when our own house is out of order. We'll just be ineffectual. Bet you've noticed? Maybe wondered why? Okay, I'm going to break my own rules, not that I really have any, and suggest to us all that giving some time over each day to being still may really juice up our ride. For the longest time, we've been going nowhere fast. Do you agree? It's that way for most of us. It could be because it's designed like that. If you take the ride from mind perspective, that's what you can expect. Making this head-to-heart shift is a mighty big deal, though. Nothing, no, not anything can make such a big difference in your life. The fact is that you don't know yourself. You don't know who you are, nor what. You're a heck of a lot closer to the source by going within, into the kingdom of heart, the land of the still small voice. Make sense? So, the big shift, the great shift, if you will, for us and for now may well be this shift from head into heart. It's as major a shift as you could want if you're the adventurous sort. It's a major change of scenery, a change of point of view. This is the first step, the big one, right off the cliff. Are you game? Are you still with me? Friend, if you are awakening, then you have already been experiencing elements of the death of the false self, the mind-based creation, the one you thought all along was who you are. And this stuff hurts. Why is that? Largely, I think, because we identified with it so strongly. That's why it feels as if some part of us is dying, when it's not, but it sure feels like that. So, this is serious work. It's also play. Still, stick close to heart, since that's intuition central for us all. That's where, if you will, we are closest to our internal guidance. Guardian angels, spirit guides, soul family, the invisibles, call it whatever you will. It's our own higher self as well as our support team of invisibles. So it's well to have a light, playful heart about the whole thing, but also to be aware of the gravity, the awesomeness of this shifting we're doing. It's no small deal. You can expect to feel totally lost at times. Depression can come too. Strange sadness, tears from who knows where, things like that. The best way I've found to handle such stuff is twofold. First, being hard as much as possible, and second, keep remembering who I am and who I am not. Who you are. As we carve out our own territory outside of the 3D mind, we are much better able to identify when mind is having a hard time, and to recognize how that is not us. Mind is the one having the major challenges here, friends. It's mind that sometimes thinks we are simply coming apart. Just mind, well, its whole world is coming apart. If we view this from sacred heart space, we can see that mind isn't far off. It isn't wrong in that. Strictly from mind's perspective, things are indeed falling apart. The whole world that it structured for itself, simply everything it once believed, is turning out to be not correct, not real, not the case. So if mind is feeling and thinking like that, well then, kudos to mind. It got things right. This is the death of the mind-created false self. I won't call it ego, since that word carries too much baggage, too many connotations to too many minds. Besides, neither mind nor ego needs to die. We still need them for the trip. Let's do then get this straight about what is dying. What is dying is something that was never truly alive. It was an invention, a creature, a creation of mind, wholly made of false beliefs. Things we were fed growing up that we had to believe to even get this far. So there is no fault whatsoever with mind. It gave and it gives us its best. Okay, everyone now reach out and give mind a great, big, supportive hug. Appreciate it. Seriously, let's take a moment of sincere appreciation for the hard, the tough work of our mind. Let it know it did a great job, for surely it did. You made it, didn't you? You're still here, right? Well then, mind did its job. It was an unfair task mind was set to, after all. All the load, all of the burden was placed solely and squarely on the mind. In reality, mind had no business leading like that. It was never meant to be put in sole charge. SOLE. Source knows better than that. Still, it was clearly part of the plan for this time and the time that went before. It happened, right? Well then, let's not cry over spilled milk. It just is what is. The fact is that mind did its best. Yes, your mind. And it deserves more, much more than just a hug. It deserves to know that its time of carrying around a Herculean burden is now officially over. 3 cheers for mind. Let your mind know that you'll be taking over now and that you're putting heart back in charge. Though most minds will balk at first, since being in charge is all they know, yet you can also trust that mind itself knows somehow that this is the better way to go. Even mind has a deep sense of how things should be. The challenge has been that carrying such burdens as it has been under, it was way too busy just trying to make it, to handle everything, to get in touch with its own deeper self. So, you can let mind know that it will now have some official time to rest and recharge, and just let go. You're going to be doing things in such a way as to be much more supportive of and respectful of mind. Bet you never thought you'd hear me saying this stuff. Friends, it just doesn't have to be so gosh darned hard. We, as source, as heart, as light beings, can surely lighten things up. It's like having a mule team where all of their loads are packed wrong and hanging over sideways. And the poor mules have been doing their best, but they're off balance and having trouble on the rocky mountain road. We can do a tremendous lot just by stopping a while, rearranging the loads, taking some of them off. Those mules are overloaded. Things will go much better when all is back in balance. And there's no need to rush. We just defeat the self when we charge off half-cocked. Okay, enough. A lot has been covered here. Yet again, an unusual journal. Well, I'm about to say, is there any other kind? Maybe you don't notice it so much, but in taking these things down, I surely do. The energy just feels different. And here's a hint: to notice such things, to tune in to energies. You can do this. If you will shift out of head, you will find it's a natural gift that you have. It's not just a mind thing, that's all. So when you're viewing a journal and something is said that you just don't feel or sense, take a moment to center and see how that can help. Namaste. Okay, I wanted to add something here, something that I've noticed. I've been taking St. John's wort for a while. I was having such a challenge with the waves of sadness and a fairly steady low-grade depression and tension, and just, I felt I needed some support, some herbal support. So I got some St. John's wort, and I guess it's been about 3 months or so. I don't know, I'm not good with time, but it's been a number of months I've been on it. And I've been able to cut back on the dose, and I'm finding that it provides a steady, calm, quiet, underlying support. So I thought I would mention that, St. John's wort, W-O-R-T. And there's something else. There are two things that I'm aware of that pretty much all bodies around the world are deficient in. One of them is vitamin D, or D3. And it's the sunshine vitamin, but we don't get enough, and it's useful to so many processes in the body. The other is magnesium. Almost everyone is magnesium deficient, and there's evidence that we've got the idea, usually when you get calcium, it'll come with magnesium because the two work together, and the calcium is not well absorbed, absent magnesium. And we thought it was supposed to be about a 2-to-1 calcium to magnesium. Well, it turns out that there's evidence that it needs to be the other way. We need more magnesium relative to calcium. Now, there's another thing about magnesium. There are so many things. I mean, if you do an internet search on it, you'll be amazed. There are supposed to be about 300 processes in your body that require magnesium to function well. And needless to say, drink plenty of water too, because there's a lot of your processes. Even your DNA doesn't function well when you get about 8% dehydrated, 8% less water than what you should have. Your DNA, it's electrical, it needs that. But anyway, the magnesium is also, it has an effect of calming the nervous system. And I'm really noticing this effect. There's even a product called Magnesium Calm, and it comes in different flavors. Of course, it's a health food thing. And so I wanted to speak up. I'm noticing, and I don't know that I can attribute the changes I'm noticing. I'm not going to completely attribute them to these two things, but between the St. John's wort and the taking magnesium, things are looking up. So I just thought I'd mention them. This is not health advice, check with your doctor, the standard disclaimer type thing. But for those of us that are curious and that are the do-it-yourselfers, you might want to do a little bit of research into things like this. Good day.